Greetings guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. This past year, I have fallen into a hyperfixation, if you can call it that, which is just reading. I used to be an avid reader as like a teenager, and then life got like a lot. Way too on top of me, and I just kind of stopped reading pretty much altogether. And I didn't really read for a long time. In the past, like between 2020 and November of last year, I read maybe a total of like 5 books. But in this year alone, since January started to today, which is May 4th, I just finished my 37th book this morning. So I've kind of gone completely off the rails. It's consumed my entire life. And because of that, I have been aware of books and what people are reading and what people are talking about, and noticing conversations that are happening on Twitter, etc., which has of course led me to booktok. And I'm not even really on booktok. I don't use TikTok very often, but I am aware of what goes on there, mainly because the discourse makes its way over to Twitter. And I now feel like I'm allowed to have an opinion since I am now a reader of books myself. And so I dedicated a day to going through booktok and seeing what was going on and what it was about. And I just have a lot of thoughts and a lot of opinions, as many people do. And upon my descent into booktok, the content that really grabbed my attention and had me just being like, was the TikToks that are just like clips from books just overlaid over images. And it's usually like some dialogue or something that's going on, and it's usually like from romance books. And I just need to share some of it because there are some things that I just don't really think should be in books. And I wanted to talk about it. And not for the first time, but a few days ago, Chad uploaded a video that's very similar along the same sort of content, and that keeps happening. I planned this video like weeks ago. I promise I'm not copying. It just kind of looks like it. But yeah, so that's today's video anyway. One thing that is important to note about booktok is a large theme around it is that people are just really into spicy books, which just smut really is. People are really into it. It's a massive thing on booktok. It's what everyone is reading. It's what everyone is talking about. And at times it can be rather problematic. Like, it's okay to read spicy books. It's okay to read smutty books. There's nothing wrong with that. However, there has come a point where there are people with like genuine like porn addictions at this point, and it's kind of concerning. There's a lot of like dynamics that shouldn't be really happening, and there's some stuff that I just don't see. I just, you know, we're gonna, you'll see what I mean. So this first one is this girl's reaction to a line from a book, and this is what it says. She just gave birth, and then he says to the doctor, how long until she can get pregnant again? And this girl is like losing her mind. Like, this is the best thing she's read. She's like, ooh, like really happy about this statement. Like, kind of like, this is like the best thing ever. Like, oh, why doesn't someone say this to me? I love this dynamic. And I just, I don't know about that one. I don't think that that's a romantic statement to make. If I had just given birth and my partner was like, how long until she can get pregnant again? I would punch someone. I would lose my mind. Don't even look at me. I've just squeezed a human through my body. I've just grown a person inside me and then pushed them out of my body. And you're already asking when I can do it again? Fuck you. So this is a picture of a girl in the back of a car, like hiding her face, and it says, when she's out partying with her friends and accidentally drunk texts her boss. And then it flashes to a shirtless man and it says, where are you? And she says, the cute guy I'm flirting with says we're at nightcaps. And her boss responds, "Tell the cute guy to stop hitting on you. You're mine." And I just, I just don't get it. Like, maybe it's just not for me, and I get that. But like, without context as well, it makes it worse of like the power dynamic when it comes to work relationships is very real, especially in this situation where it seems, you know, that like there is not an established relationship there. If you accidentally text your boss unaware that this is the relationship that you have and he just replies, "Don't talk to a cute guy, you're mine," like, I'm going to HR immediately. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't aware this was the type of relationship that we had. Even if I had like a crush on my boss, if that's how he responded to me, I would be like, ooh, that seems like a bit of a red flag. I might not actually. A little bit possessive for someone whom I'm not in a relationship with. A little bit possessive regardless. Another big trend within booktok and all these books is mafia. I don't understand why mafia boss has been like an attractive thing. Like, do you know what the mafia is? Do you know what the mafia does? I don't know why this is a fantasy that people seem to have, like being with the mafia boss or the mafia boss's son being involved in that. I don't quite understand the appeal. Seems a little problematic to me, but I digress. This is what this clip says. Keeping in mind this is from a real published book that people are reading and recommending. When the mafia boss is working her on his desk and his brother walks into the room for a meeting, she waits, expecting him to stop, but he takes the meeting while he's still inside her, and he growls in her ear, "I want you to look at me while you come for me." His brother is right there. What? So you're having sex on his desk in the meeting room. Sure. You do you. Go off. Whatever. You're in a private place. Do what you gotta do. But then his brother comes into the room for a meeting, and you keep going? Not only that, but you're like dirty talking during that. His brother is right there. It's not even like a phone meeting, which also not great. Don't really think you should be having sex while you're like on the phone either. But you know, it's leagues better than this, which is what? I just want to know how you are still turned on when your brother walks into the room for a meeting. How are you still carrying on? How are either of you still in the mood while that is happening? How are neither of you not uncomfortable? Why did the brother stay in the room while this was happening? What's going on? This dynamic is fucked up and gross, and no. Why are we romanticizing like voyeurism in front of family members now? What's going on? And this is another weird trend I noticed is brothers. There's a weird thing with brothers, because here's another one. When they're in the middle of doing it and her brother walks into the room, "You okay with Lucas watching, Beauty?" They continue, while his brother watches and gives them orders. What? I know I just asked that, but what? And this is another one where like people in the comments are like, book? What book is this? Why? But why though? Why is this the clip from the book that we take and upload? Like, isn't that so sexy? Ooh, isn't that so desirable? Don't you wish that would happen? No, I can't think of many things worse to happen while having sex, actually, is if my partner's sibling walked into the room. I'm stopping immediately. How is the response to your brother walking into the room asking your girlfriend, "Is it okay if he watches?" No? What? If my partner asked me that, I would be up and out of there so fast. I'm running as fast as I fucking can. I'm leaving my like eyeballs behind, you know, like in cartoons where they like run away really fast and it takes a while for their like the rest of their body to catch up with them. That would be me. That's how fast I'm getting the fuck out of that room. Because what do you mean? Is it okay if my brother watches? And another brother one, because for some fucking reason we love brothers being sexually involved. We have this one. She's worried she's never going to be able to handle the needs and jealousy of being with both twin brothers at the same time. But then, you look so beautiful, Ethan whispered in her ear. I can see it in Levi's eyes. What? So you're having a threesome with twins, which gross, vile, and then it makes it one step worse to be like, you look beautiful, I can see it in my brother's eyes while you're all being intimate together. And this is desirable. This is something that we look for. Incest is what we want now? Is that something that we're interested in? And this, once again, had so many comments asking what book this was from. And I just am concerned. This is not a new fantasy. We saw it on TV a lot as kids. Like, there are so many TV shows and things from the early 2000s. I haven't seen it recently, of like talking about how men desire to hook up with twin women. And that was fucking weird. That was always fucking weird, being like, why? They're like, I want to watch twins make out. It's like, they're literally sisters. What's wrong with you? That's so gross. I thought we were all on the same page as like making fun of that fantasy and talking about how fucked up and gross it was. I didn't think we were going to turn around and then make it into just being reversed. I didn't think that that's how this was gonna go. I thought we were just gonna kill it, cut it off at the knees, leave it to die how it should, because we should definitely not be fantasizing about brothers hooking up. Get two best friends. You know, they like get two friends that look alike. Keep brothers out of it. Why are we writing romance novels or smut involving brothers? Just stop it. When a mysterious billionaire offers you a job as his nanny because he needs help caring for his sweet daughter who lost her mom, the only problem? He's never around and you've only met him a handful of times and haven't seen him in months until one day while cooking breakfast, you hear the front door open and footsteps approaching. You weren't expecting company, so you're only wearing a tiny set of PJs. And you try to avert making eye contact. You feel him approach you from behind, grabbing your waist. He whispers in your ear, try not to wear such revealing clothes. I don't want any of my men eyeing you up besides me. Call the cops. That's my response to that. So, again, weird fantasy to have, because this is a stranger who's paying you money to look after your kid, and you're cooking in his house, and he shows up one day and then grabs you from behind, despite you literally not knowing him. You've met him like one time and he pays your checks. And then he just shows up one day and grabs you from behind and is like, stop dressing like that because I don't want other men to look at you. Only me. Considering you've barely ever met before, I don't think she was assuming that anything was going on between you. And even still, the possessive thing is not, I don't get how it's sexy or attractive. I don't understand the controlling thing. I don't get why people like fantasize being like, oh, it's so romantic when my boyfriend tells me what I'm not allowed to wear. Oh, it's so romantic when my boyfriend tells me that I am not allowed to see other men. Oh, I wish my boyfriend controlled me. No, I get it's fiction. And this doesn't always, reflect real world desires, but it's just interesting to read. I just find it really interesting to read, especially out of context. Like when this is all you give me, I Can't tell if reading more is gonna make it 10 times worse or if it's gonna make it any better because I don't have the context. All I can tell from this clip here is that that's fucking weird and kind of creepy and overly possessive for no reason. 1, you're her boss. 2, you're a stranger. Like, stranger danger. I know you pay my bills, but don't fucking touch me. I don't know you. I just don't get it. And maybe that's on me, but that's what this channel is for me to talk about shit that I don't get. If you don't agree with me, you don't have to agree with me. These are my opinions, so deal with it. She's young and untouched. He's a newly crowned mafia boss and the man who claims her innocence, but she becomes his weakness, so he forces her to spend the weekend with him and pretends it's his business until she screams his name and he can't be gentle. Fuck, he snarls. I will own every part of you, little liar, and you'll never forget it. Again with the mafia boss. Can someone please tell me what is sexy about the mafia and the mafia boss? Like, I don't really get it. Like, even a little bit. Someone tells me they're involved in the mafia, you know where I'm running? The other way as fast as I can. Like, no, thank you. And I think that everyone should be the same. And I do not understand the fantasy even a little bit. Don't get why there are so many books about it. She's young and untouched is so icky. It's just really icky. And being like, the mafia boss claims her and says he's gonna own every part of her and she's not gonna forget it. I'm just concerned for a number of reasons. And I think one of the reasons these are so concerning and my opinions are so strong is that teenagers read these, like kids read these. A lot of people on booktok are people in school. A lot of people posting these are people in school. And so I know the like young and untouched thing, the people reading that who are relating to it are like teenagers. And it just concerns me a little bit that these are the relationship dynamics that teenagers are reading about and fantasizing about. As an adult, it's easier to separate like fiction from reality and reading these being like, this isn't healthy. This is not something I desire for myself, but it is something that is just a fun read, you know? But it's harder when you're a teenager or a kid to do that. And I know we don't like to talk about that. And I know that teenagers are smarter than people give them credit for, but that doesn't change the fact that they are still very easily influenced by the media they consume. And I'm speaking on this as someone who was once a teenager. I think teenagers don't get a lot of credit where credit is due, but also in other situations, they get treated too much like adults. There's like a blurry, weird line there. And I just think that like dynamics like this and teenagers having full access to this and reading this and being like, that's sexy, that's what I want, is quite problematic. Encouraging the possessiveness and the claiming of young and untouched people by mafia bosses and adults. Because you know another thing that's really big on booktok, like a really popular trope that exists, is age gaps. And like this TikTok is just him. You're old enough to be my daughter. Does that mean I can call you daddy? And the caption is just age gap romance are the best. And I just struggle with this idea so much. There are books that are like promoted as being like age gap romance, and the age gaps are like 35 and 20. They're like, this book is so sexy because the age gap is like 40 and 21. I just think that's a problem. I just don't understand why that's a genre and a trope that people are like obsessed with, because it's so problematic. And I want to clarify here that age gaps have there's two different versions of age gap, right? There's like realistic age gaps and then there's like fantasy age gaps. And I have much less of a problem with fantasy age gaps. Like someone being like 500 and like 20, I find less problematic than someone being like 40 and 20, purely because one of those is a purely fictional situation. You're never gonna find yourself in a situation where there is someone who is 500 years old. You know what I mean? Like the extreme gaps are very fictional. They're fantastical. They're not realistic. in any way at all, and they typically have the dynamic as though they are the same age. Whereas ones that are like based in reality, like more contemporary books or even just age gaps like that outside of contemporary, it is a problem because that is based in reality and is something that people can desire and look for and find sexy and want to be like, oh, I want to date someone who's 15 years my elder because that's hot and sexy. I get so uncomfortable when I'm reading things like that. When I'm reading people talking about an age gap, it makes my skin crawl. I just am not a fan. Like when I read fantasy books and they mention the age gap, I'm like, oh, you need to just don't mention it. I can be chill with this relationship and you having a 500-year age gap if you just like never ever mention that exists. Like in like Throne of Glass, when the age gap is mentioned and I'm like, I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that and we're gonna carry on past it like nothing happened because I love you and I love this relationship. But the second you tell me the age difference, I'm suddenly like, oh, so if we just ignore that it exists, then we can carry on and everything is okay again. But if the romance is around the age gap and that's where it focuses, I think that that's a big problem. And I don't understand why we're all writing it and reading it and promoting it like at all. When he is huge and you're tiny and he has a size kink and he wants to chase you across his private island with his 3 friends. And when they catch you, all bets are off. See, if you were trying to promote this book to me, you did the complete opposite. Because now I'm just mildly terrified. What do you mean? He's big and she's tiny and him and his 3 friends want to chase her across the island. And when they catch you, all bets are off. What does that mean? I need to know what that means because that sounds terrifying, actually. Like an actual nightmare coming undone. And again, I feel like context could work either way here. I really want to hope context makes it better. I really want to hope that this was just, you know, poorly chosen little section. But I'm almost afraid that context makes it worse. And I don't even know how much worse it could get based on what I jump to immediately. Terrible way to advertise a book. When they're fighting and she doesn't want to touch him having separation anxiety and not being able to breathe without her. And then the suggested search is separation anxiety boyfriend imagines. We should not be promoting codependency to this extreme. You should not be wishing your partner has anxiety when you don't speak to them. You should not be wishing to like give your partner the silent treatment so that they feel anxious about you and like keeping them so dependent on you that you have the power to like hurt them like that. Codependency, it's not something we should be promoting like that. We shouldn't be desiring that to the degree that we do. That's always been a problem. Codependency, and this is coming from someone, and I think this one speaks to me so much because I do have separation anxiety and I have major codependency issues, and I always have whenever I'm in relationships in the past. They've like become my entire life. So I understand that feeling very well, and it's not a fun position to be in. And if someone was like, I find that sexy, that's what I want in a relationship, I'd be like, no, thank you. I don't think we should be desiring that from each other. I think it's a real problem, the amount of smut that teenagers consume. It's just not great, I don't think, because as established, a lot of these people do just straight up have porn addictions that aren't willing to call it that because it's in book form. And some of those people are teenagers. And we all know the damage porn can cause, right? The like expectations it brings into your sex life and the damage that it can cause, and the fact that like in these situations you can think something is like sexy when it's actually like harmful, and it can lead to a whole bunch of issues, and it's just not great. I think you need to balance this with having like other books that have like more minor sex scenes in it and more healthy communication and better relationships that aren't all based off of power and hunger and like he is a hunter kind of vibes, you know? I think we need to have some balance. To finish this off, I want to show a video that's a little bit different just because this video is actually sort of what made me want to do a book talk video in the first place, because it like pissed me off a little bit. As I've discussed multiple times through this video, there are some like common tropes that people like. There is like the mafia, there is like brothers, there's the age gap trope, and then there's also like, you know, enemies to lovers, love triangle, like etc., like slow burn, etc., all that sort of jazz. And I just have some thoughts and opinions that I want to share. So we're gonna watch this and then we're gonna talk about it.
I thought about this the other day and now I'm genuinely curious. Why do books not have like little tropes at the beginning of each book? For example, when I go into reading a book, I want to know, okay, romance, I got that part, okay? Everybody knows like it's categorized as romance. Okay, yeah, I got that. But that's not enough. I want to know more information. Like right on the inside of the book, can we write romance, no spice? And then I want to know, is it a love triangle? Is it grumpy versus sunshine? What the fuck is it? Because usually this is the shit you find out when you get into reading the book. Like to find out if it's a fucking love triangle, you have to read the whole thing and then you're like, oh shit, that was a love triangle. Fuck that. Like, why can't we just have like a little thing at the beginning that just like tells us just a little something so I know if I'm gonna enjoy this book or not before I even fucking get to reading it and realize that I fucking hate it. Not you though. I could never hate you.
And this seems to be like a common opinion. People are obsessed with like tropes. And now in a lot of books like this, when they're advertised, the like tropes are advertised with it. So like an example is The Darkest Corner of the Heart by Lucina Coney. And it's got the fun age gap, 21-31, dual POV, grumpy and protective cat dad, spicy, ballerina physical therapist, slow burn, and forbidden romance. The way that that's what advertising a book is and not what actually happens in the book, like what the story is about, is fascinating to me and like a terrible way to sell a book to me. Asking to put that in the front cover is so funny to me because like, yeah, you don't know that. You do have to find out in the book because that's what the book is. That's the whole point, is that you're reading the story, that you don't know what's going to happen, that you follow these relationships, that you go on this journey. It's like watching a movie or watching a TV show or whatever. You don't know what happens at the end because the point is that you're watching the story. If you told me it's a love triangle, you've just spoiled it for me. You know, like you've spoiled the book for me. If you're telling me how it ends, like even down to like slow burn, it's like you're giving me too much information on like what's going to happen and not like what the story itself is about, you know? And like if you really want to know if it's grumpy and sunshine or love triangle or whatever, you can Google it. Google is a free resource that you are able to use, and that way doesn't run the risk of spoiling it for other people. You can spoil it for yourself instead. You know? I find this so funny too because like I've asked for book recommendations before, and when I ask for book recommendations, people are like, you should read this because it ends like this. I'm like, well, now I don't want to read it because I know how it ends, and that spoils half the fun. I don't want to know how a book ends. I don't want to know what happens. I don't want to know how the relationships end up, who ends up with who. I want to read the book and find that out on my own because that's the point. That's why I'm reading the book, to find out the story. And I'll reread books, sure. I like to reread and rewatch things, but that's different. Once I found it out myself and then I like do it again with knowing the context, don't tell me what happens. If I want to know, I'll Google it. Can we please go back to advertising books by giving me a short blurb about like what the plot is and to like make me be like, ooh, I want to find out more about this, and not just being like, she was a woman, he was a man. That's it. The whole back of the book, just like, she was a witch, he was a witch hunter. Thank you. Like, now I know that they're gonna end up together, which I guess I would have known immediately anyway. But like, can you give me a little bit more to go off of that isn't just like slow burn or love triangle or whatever, you know? Anyway, this has been my book talk video. I think I might do another one of these as well, but on like a different side of book talk, a different part of book talk. There's other dynamics that we can jump into. There's other side to this that we can jump into. But this is sort of what I ended up falling into the other day. And I just needed to talk about it and get it off my chest a little bit because it's just a little bit ridiculous. I'm gonna clarify one more time. There is nothing wrong with reading smut or reading these spicy books. Go for it. Read whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. The problem is just the parts of it that we promote, the people that are consuming it, the amount that we're consuming it, and the amount we're romanticizing it and fantasizing about it. And also like specifically some of these things are just like objectively like they shouldn't be written in books or anywhere. Like I don't care if you're fantasizing about like having sex with twin brothers. I don't think we should be fantasizing about that, writing about it, whatever. Keep that, just don't. I was considering possibly reading a book and talking about it just because I am fascinated. And if that is something you would like to see me do, then let me know. Let me know a book that you recommend that you think I should put myself through to discuss on the channel, and maybe I'll do it. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm here every Thursday and Sunday, usually. And I would love to see you again. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. I appreciate you greatly. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Raven, Elias, Chris, Samuel, and Knitting Menace. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/SavvyCow or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.